Oil reservoirs rise over the Lukoil Neftochim refinery on the outskirts of Burgas, Bulgaria, as the country faces a pivotal moment for its largest fuel-producing facility. The refinery, one of the most significant industrial sites in southeastern Europe, is now at the centre of political pressure, public debate and international scrutiny following new US sanctions on the Russian oil giant Lukoil. The developments have triggered calls for tighter national oversight, possible state intervention and concerns about the future of thousands of workers connected directly and indirectly to refineries' operations. Footage from Burgas taken on the 14th of November 2025 shows long rows of oil reservoirs positioned along the Black Sea coast. Extreme close-up shots reveal the scale of the infrastructure, while pans across the complex show storage facilities stretching across the port area. At the entrance to the refinery, a road sign bearing graffiti reading "Glory to Russia" in Bulgarian is visible, reflecting the political sensitivities surrounding the company's ownership and influence. Nearby, the Guinea-Bissau flagged crude oil tanker Miriam B is seen moving through the waters near Street Anastasia Island, an indicator of the refinery's ongoing maritime activity. Despite mounting pressure, a fisherman sits at the port entrance, casting a line into the water as a gendarmerie car remains parked nearby. Security officers are positioned at the refinery gates as increased monitoring coincides with Bulgaria's recent decision to nominate a senior official to take temporary control of the plant. Shots recorded in the village of Kameno show the refinery from a distance, its chimneys, pipes and industrial blocks rising above the surrounding flatlands. A gendarmerie unit controls entry and exit points, while security personnel inspect incoming vehicles. These images accompany rising concerns among residents, retired refinery workers and local officials about what the sanctions and government interventions might mean for the region. One of the voices heard is that of Gospodin Valkov, a retired worker from Lukoil Neftochim. Speaking plainly, he captures the alarm felt by many long associated with the refinery. In Bulgarian, he expresses frustration over the instability surrounding its future. His comments reflect a decades-long connection to the site and an understanding of the refinery's central role in Bulgaria's fuel market. Valkov says in his first statement, "I want it to be shut down so we can understand what those people at the top have done, because this is what they want to do, either take it over or bankrupt it, so we know where those at the top want to grab everything." His remarks point to mistrust toward management and the political structures overseeing the refinery's operations. He expands on this in a second soundbite, stating, "People say they want to ruin Lukoil, and now especially with this special Komin manager they want to appoint." He was supposedly some kind of specialist, but from what I see, he is not a specialist. Because higher up, supposedly, they're all specialists, yet no one is put in a position where they can actually get the job done. They've put all the wrong people there, and there's no one who can actually do the work. His words reflect a belief shared by some former employees who say the refinery has long suffered from management disputes, political influence and lack of clear long-term planning. Nearby residents and expatriates living in the region have also been reacting to the uncertainty. One of them, an 82-year-old retired expatriate named Michael, looks at the issue through a broader economic lens. His comment highlights the refinery's national importance. He says, "Lukoil could be providing a significant amount of capital towards Bulgaria's future, and that's the way I look at it. How does it affect the future?" Michael's perspective touches on a central point raised by analysts. Lukoil Neftochim is not only a major employer, but also one of Bulgaria's largest taxpayers and fuel suppliers. Its operations influence national energy, security, fuel prices, and the regional employment market. In Kameno, former Mayor Tenio Tenev reflects on the local consequences if the refinery shuts down or operates under restrictions. Tenev says, "This is not the best solution either, stopping the refinery or working under sanctions or reducing production. That means there will again be people who will be laid off, again people who will be looking for work, and they are young people and specialists at that." His remark underscores concerns about job losses and the risk of long-term economic decline in surrounding communities. Many workers have specialized industrial training tailored specifically to refinery operations, making relocation or retraining more complicated. The United States sanctions on Lukoil come at a time when European governments are under pressure to reduce dependence on Russian energy companies. While Bulgaria has historically relied heavily on Lukoil Neftochim for fuel production, the latest measures have accelerated discussions about diversifying ownership and supply chains. The Bulgarian government's decision to nominate a special manager to temporarily take over the refinery aligns with recent legislation enabling state oversight in strategic energy sectors when national security is concerned. The government argues that such steps are necessary to ensure compliance with international sanctions and maintain uninterrupted fuel supply. Under this mechanism, a state-appointed manager may have authority over key operational decisions if deemed necessary. However, critics say placing a politically chosen figure at the top could create administrative challenges, disrupt operations, or lead to further instability. Inside the refinery, the transition process remains unclear. Workers and unions have requested more information about what a state-appointed manager would mean in practical terms, including whether existing contracts and structures will remain intact. Approximately 1 million tonnes of fuel products per year pass through Burgas, positioning the refinery as a critical node in regional transport routes. Much of this fuel moves not only within Bulgaria, but also to neighbouring countries. For decades, Lukoil Neftochim has been one of the region's most advanced refining complexes, operating with a combination of local labour and expertise. Aligned with Russian corporate standards, the refinery includes a wide array of facilities, from primary distillation units to secondary cracking systems and storage terminals. As US sanctions heighten pressure on Russian state-linked companies, international banks, insurers and transport firms have been reassessing risk exposure. This has led to delayed payments, restrictions on shipping insurance, and tightened scrutiny on vessels linked to Russian-sourced crude oil. The appearance of the Guinea-Bissau flagged Miriam B near Burgas comes at a time when flag swapping, registering vessels under flags of convenience is increasingly common among tankers carrying Russian-linked oil. While this practice is legal, it often occurs in the context of sanctions avoidance concerns. The Bulgarian authorities have not commented publicly on the specific vessel, but maritime data shows an increased number of non-EU flagged tankers entering the Black Sea region over recent months. At the same time, Bulgaria's energy market regulator has warned that any interruption at the refinery could affect fuel availability nationwide. The refinery supplies over 70% of the country's diesel and gasoline. A shutdown, even partial, could trigger shortages or the need to import refined fuels at higher prices. Local voices, including former workers like Valkov, raise concerns not only about sanctions but also about political interference. His comments reflect a belief that management changes are being driven by power struggles rather than operational needs. In his words, those at the top want to grab everything. This sentiment echoes frustrations heard in other industrial sectors undergoing transitions linked to sanctions or foreign ownership restructuring. Former Mayor Tenev's comments highlight the social dimension, the livelihoods of young technicians, engineers and skilled refinery operators. He says there will again be people who will be laid off, again people who will be looking for work. This risk is particularly acute in Kameno and Burgas, where the refinery is a major employer and where industrial jobs are limited. The Bulgarian government has said publicly that any decision regarding the refinery's future must balance compliance with sanctions with protecting the national economy. Officials argue that maintaining operational continuity under a temporary state manager is preferable to an immediate shutdown. Yet, critics question whether the government has the technical capacity to manage such a complex facility or whether political influence may override operational expertise. Valkov's second soundbite reflects this scepticism. He states, He was supposedly some kind of specialist, but from what I see, he is not a specialist. They've put all the wrong people there. His remarks point to a recurring theme in Bulgarian industry, concerns about appointments based not on expertise, but on political affiliation. Meanwhile, some regional leaders warn that if the refinery reduces production, the surrounding municipalities may face reduced tax revenue. Public services, local infrastructure and social programs often rely heavily on contributions from large industrial employers. The refinery's location along the Black Sea makes it a hub for tanker traffic, crude imports and storage operations. It also positions Bulgaria as a regional gateway for fuel distribution. Any disruption could affect not just local communities, but also energy routes extending to the Balkans and southern Europe. In recent years, Bulgaria has seen political turnover, coalition instability and debates over energy diversification. These factors contribute to uncertainty surrounding long-term decisions about major infrastructure assets. For residents of Burgas and Kameno, the refinery's future is not only an economic issue, but also a matter of social identity. Entire generations have worked there, trained there, and built their livelihoods around the plant. Michael, the retired expatriate, frames the question through a simple but forward-looking perspective. How does it affect the future? His words reflect the broader concern that decisions taken now will shape Bulgaria's energy landscape for decades. As the refinery continues operating under heightened security and monitoring, the Bulgarian government must navigate complex geopolitical pressures while managing domestic expectations. The next steps will depend on negotiations between ministries, regulators and international counterparts. The appointment of a special manager remains under review, and no final decision has been announced regarding the refinery's long-term ownership structure. For now, the images from Burgas and Kameno show a facility continuing to operate but under clear uncertainty, watched closely by local residents, former employees and officials who understand the significance of the refinery to Bulgaria's economic and industrial stability. The situation involving the Lukoil Refinery in Bulgaria remains ongoing as US sanctions tighten and national authorities weigh further action. The future of the refinery will depend on upcoming decisions by Bulgarian officials as they balance international obligations with the economic stability of the region.